So the other day, I looked at the use of wildcard routes in an Angular application as a means to traverse arbitrarily nested data. And this got me thinking about additional use cases for wildcard routes, and another use case that came to mind is the idea of shortcut URLs. So if you can imagine having a set of URLs that all start with this Go prefix, and then capturing the URL segments that come after Go and using those URL segments as a means to redirect the user to another part of the application. So you can think of these like short links to a feature. So for example, if we jump over to our Go view component, you can see that in my constructor here, I have a list of shortcut matchers, and these routes here are the things that would come after the Go prefix in my route configuration. So for example, if I have go/boards, I would then redirect the user to projects type board. If I have favorites, I would redirect the user to projects favorites. The redirect here in this case doesn't have to be a static string. You can see that I can use a function to return a dynamic string. In this case, I'm just hard coding the value 15, but the idea here is that 15 represents some sort of application state. So a URL that I might not know ahead of time externally to the application, but then I can calculate based on application state at runtime, right? So most recent might not mean anything on its own, but that might relate to application data as part of the redirect. I can even have things like route parameters coming out of my shortcut so that I can then redirect to a more robust URL long term. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, why don't I just link directly to these redirect values? And in the vast majority of applications, doing so is absolutely fine. But the nice thing about creating a shortcut wildcard route is that it hides some of the implementation details of the routing mechanism. This means that things like transactional emails that the application sends out that have links back into the application, or support correspondence, or FAQs, or other types of external support documentation can link to these sort of more static, more consistent long-term link targets, and allows us to change the internal destination of such links over time without breaking the external link correspondence. So just to see how this might work, I set up a simple app component here, and you can see all I'm doing is linking to a bunch of these Go routes. And if we jump over into the browser, just refresh the page, so you can see if I link to something like /go/boards, you'll see that I'm redirecting to boards and I end up in projects type board, right? And I'm just using a catch-all route for all the other non-Go routes just so that I can display the URL. Most recent links to the activity. This one for the comments, we're passing the conversation ID, and the comment ID you can see redirects to the more robust inbox, threads, conversation comment ID type URL. And then of course, the nice thing about having a specific view for the shortcut redirection is that if I link to an invalid shortcut, such as this /go/foobar, I now have an opportunity to provide some sort of meaningful feedback for the user inside of that Go system. I know a lot of people in Angular try to push as many things as they can into things like route guards and data resolvers, and I think that's a poor choice. As much as possible, I want to do data resolution and logic inside of my view so that I have as much opportunity as possible to provide meaningful feedback in that view when something goes wrong, or if I need to provide some sort of a loading indicator or something to that effect. So again, in a lot of cases, it may not make sense to go through the extra hoop jumping of linking to short URLs, but in cases where you need to provide a consistent externally based long-term link target, such as again something like a support documentation, list of FAQs, email correspondence, transactional emails. This can provide a way to link to something that's consistent over the long term while still providing us the ability to go in and change the implementation details of the internal application routing without breaking all of those external links. And if nothing else, hopefully this just showcases maybe some of the power of the wildcard route and provide some sort of inspiration for various use cases.